Now that Hawkeye is complete, the time has come to rank all 32 chapters of the MCU worst to best. But since I literally just did this with Spider-Man No Way Home, let's make a little game out of this and see how fast can we rank all 32. Welcome to Durbania, I'm Durbin, and this is my ranking of all 32 chapters of the MCU worst to best. Now, on my ranking of all 31, when I did Spider-Man No Way Home, I got this comment and I thought it was hysterical. Johnny Rose said, "You really couldn't wait a few days to include Hawkeye? Seriously?" See, I also didn't realize how short the first season of Hawkeye was going to be, and I was really surprised, like, oh, the finale already happened? Yeah, I should have waited. So I'm just gonna have a little bit of fun with this ranking. I'm gonna put up a 10-minute counter, and I'm gonna rank all 32 chapters in 10 minutes or less. Where would you rank Hawkeye in your ranking of all 32 chapters of the MCU? Let's talk about it. Number 32, Thor: The Dark World. 31, The Eternals. 30, Captain Marvel. And 29, What If. These are my bottom 4 in the MCU. Not that I dislike them, because I really do like all of the movies in the MCU. I'm entertained by all the movies in the MCU, and I can go back to them. It's just, these are in the bottom 4 because I feel like they're the most bland and vanilla, and they're the ones that I go back to the least. Number 28, Black Widow, and 27, Incredible Hulk. Now, Black Widow dropped a little bit because I realized I've had no desire whatsoever to go back to it. Again, it's not that I totally dislike it, it's just it definitely isn't one of my favorites. It didn't really grab my attention, and Natasha surviving her car blowing up, falling off of a building, and all kinds of crazy things kind of devalues the powers to me that all the others have. And the Incredible Hulk, I think it's criminally underrated, and I would definitely go back to that before I go back to Black Widow. 26, Thor Ragnarok. Yeah, I've always got to stop here and talk about why Thor is this low on my ranking, because everybody loves it. This is always the most controversial point in my ranking, and in fact, I got this comment on my last ranking video from Mr. Sofly 2010, "Good list, but I disagree with Thor 3. I don't think the humor undermines the emotional moments. It just makes it easier to digest, like medicine. I understand some don't want that, but it's an action comedy, and I really like it." So, Mr. Sofly 2010, I really do think you make a great argument there. You make fantastic points, and I'm glad you see it that way, because I'm glad you enjoy Thor Ragnarok. Unfortunately, Thor Ragnarok is just not one of my favorites because, to me, it still feels unbalanced. You do make a great argument, but that argument that you're making, I feel like I see that in Infinity War. Because Thor and Rocket are freaking hysterical together, and I feel like that's the spoonful of sugar that helps the medicine go down. So when we're seeing some of the heavier, weightier moments with Thor and the stuff that he's carrying on his shoulders, they let us feel that. And then it's balanced with comedy. And so I feel like that works better for me. I feel like in Thor Ragnarok, what I'm watching is Thor's dad dies, his best friends die, Asgard gets blown up, and Thor's the one that had to make that happen, but it gets all covered up in so much slapstick that for me personally, I don't feel like there's room for us to kind of sit with some of the emotion that's going on, and I feel like it lacks some of the balance that Infinity War has. So those are just my personal thoughts and why Thor Ragnarok is where it is for me. Number 25, Iron Man 2, and 24, Hawkeye. So a brief review of Hawkeye, and there's going to be spoilers here for Hawkeye. So it's here at number 24 because I was entertained by it. I definitely enjoyed it, but it didn't just stick out to me as a standout. Maybe part of that is I saw Spider-Man No Way Home, and that blew my mind. And then I watched this, I'm like, yeah, it's okay. One of the things that I really like is Jeremy Renner's performance. He does such a great job as Clint Barton. And what I mean by that is, in Avengers Endgame, when Hulk snaps, everybody comes back, and then Laura calls, his wife calls, and he hears her voice for the first time in 5 years. He can't even get the words out. Just the expression on his face, you could feel the emotion that he's feeling. He's so good at conveying that, and you could just see it on his face. You see it in his eyes. They do that in this show. I mean, where his son calls and his hearing aid is broken and everything's all muffled, and he can't understand what his son is saying, so Kate Bishop is writing it all down, and you're seeing him react to what she's writing. That was powerful. And I love little moments like that, and I love how Jeremy Renner is able to convey the emotion in moments like that. It's so good. The other thing I liked is his emotional character arc, because He watches Black Widow die, sacrificing herself to save him and to save the world, and you see how much he's still dealing with that. But in this show, we do get some healing into Clint Barton's life, right? Because with Kate Bishop, that's healing factor number one. You know, he said at the end, there's just some people that come into your life and change your life for the better. And I love how Kate Bishop was able to do that for him, that he found a friend in Kate, a partner in Kate. He was able to mentor her and train her up. And so you see healing begin there. But you also see what about him inspires her. Because here she is, a little girl in the beginning of that first alien invasion in the first Avengers movie, and she's watching Tony Stark shoot lasers out of his hands and superpowered people fight aliens. But you know what she was truly inspired by? A mortal man with no powers. He knew what was right, and he was willing to take those steps of faith and do what was right no matter the cost. So I like the relationship that Kate Bishop and Clint Barton had. I thought it was a great relationship. The other cool thing about the relationship is when she found out he was Ronin and she was quick to forgive and to continue to bring out the good in him, you know that was incredibly healing as well. Also, when you bring back Natasha's sister, you had this healing moment both for Clint Barton, but also for Natasha's sister, where they were able to talk it out and he was able to explain to her her sacrifice and what a true hero she was. Also, what I liked about Natasha's sister being here was seeing the blip from her perspective. I mean, she goes into that bathroom, she starts to dissolve, and then comes back together, however you want to say that, and then she looks around, and then the bathroom changes, like the paint on the wall changes, the decorations change. That was freaky cool. Now, Kingpin was one of the greatest strengths of the season and one of the greatest weaknesses. It's a strength because I love Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin. So to have Matt Murdock in No Way Home, to have Vincent D'Onofrio pop up here in Hawkeye, it was incredible. I loved it. But I was also so mad and irritated because Maya shoots him at the end. He comes back and Maya shoots him. Are you kidding me? No, here's what we needed to have. We needed him to appear in like episode 1 at the end of that. And then have him be a big part of the season because it's just too interesting to not have him there. Seriously. Where we left off in season 3, I mean, what happened there? I got to assume Matt Murdock, got snapped out of existence. And I got to assume that Kingpin did not. So without the hero that always fights against him, with half the world disappearing, I gotta assume in that 5-year period is how he got out of prison and began to rebuild his empire because the world was in complete crisis. And let's spend a little bit of time on that uncle-niece relationship between Kingpin and Maya so that when she shoots him at the end, it has more power and it has more impact to it. All of that is just too interesting, and it would have been way more interesting to answer those questions, to catch up on where he's been, how that Netflix show fits into the timeline of the MCU, but no, we couldn't do that, could we? That's why I say he's the greatest strength and greatest weakness. Very cool to have him back, make all of that canon. Very sad that we didn't spend more time with him. 23, Iron Man 3, 22, Ant-Man and the Wasp, 21, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, 20, Ant-Man, and 19, Shang-Chi. Now, all of these movies I fit in this category of, I really like them, but they're the type of movies that I don't have to think. I could put them in, they're funny, I can laugh. Iron Man 3 is a little bit of an exception in that. It's just, I really loved Ben Kingsley's performance as the Mandarin. I was really disappointed when it turned out he wasn't the Mandarin and he was just Trevor. I'm glad Shang-Chi gave us the real Mandarin. So with Iron Man 3 now, I just kind of got to not think too much about it and accept it, and that's why I put Iron Man 3 in this category. 18, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. 17, Captain America, The First Avenger. 16, WandaVision, and 15, Loki. I love WandaVision and Loki because through Wanda, we get to see the Scarlet Witch for the first time and meet a Nexus being, and then we have Loki where we get to learn what that is and how truly powerful that is as we get to see the TVA fall and the universe become chaotic and all the branches setting this ominous tone of what we should expect here in Phase 4. So I love WandaVision, I love Loki, and I love what they've set up. 14, Thor. 13, Iron Man. 12, Black Panther, and 11, Spider-Man Homecoming. What I love about that block of movies, I kind of just consider them MCU classics. They're incredibly good, and they're great foundations where the MCU can continue to build so much more great stuff. Number 10, Avengers. 9, Avengers Age of Ultron. 8, Doctor Strange. 7, Guardians of the Galaxy. And number 6, Spider-Man Far From Home. My bottom 5, or the beginning of my top 10, those movies movies are all just awesome. But these 5 are awesomer. Number 5, Spider-Man No Way Home. Number 4, Captain America Civil War. Number 3, The Winter Soldier. Number 2, Infinity War. And number 1, Avengers Endgame. It's gonna be so hard for the MCU to up Infinity War and Endgame for me because it was 10 years of buildup. And not only did we get the payoff and a great close to the Infinity Saga, but they laid the foundation for the multiverse and a lot of the stuff that we're going to be seeing here in the future. So it did a good job balancing itself and laying groundwork for what's coming, but ending what we've seen, and that was fantastic. Spider-Man No Way Home, I have now seen it 3 times. Every time I go see it, I love it more. The only reason it stays at number 5 and doesn't go up higher every time I watch it is because Civil War and Winter Soldier are kind of like classics to me. I love those movies. I think they deal with some deep themes. With Civil War, you see the cost of division. Through Winter Soldier, you see the cost of fear. And I really feel like those movies are deep, they're awesome, and they're great explorations of the character of Captain America. Boom! There it is. All 32 MCU chapters ranked in 10 minutes, and we got a little Hawkeye review there in the middle. How would you rank all 32 chapters of the MCU? Where does the show Hawkeye fall for you in that ranking? I can't wait to have conversations with you about that in the comments below. So while you're doing that, hit that subscribe button to become a Durbanian and hit the bell by the subscribe button so you're notified for videos like coming up here on New Year's Eve. My wife joining me, and we're going to be talking about our top 5 most anticipated movies for 2022. We got a fantastic list to share with you, and we want to hear from you. What are you most excited for in 2022? So hit that bell so you're notified as soon as that drops. I'm Durbin. Thanks for checking out Durbania.